seconds for it to actually activate. Hello, hello, hello. See some chat going on in there. Sorry for our tardiness. Real quick, I'm going to by saying that technology is there to trip you up on your toes. It's there to support you. Also, I mean, this is the duality of this life we live in. You have to remember everything is polarity, high valley, niche. I did see some other chatters in there. Welcome to our Friday chat. We've got some good topics to discuss. But I was going into the fact that this is a world of polarity. It's a world of duality. So for every this, there's a that. There's a yin and a yang, a masculine, a feminine, a plus and a minus, a positive, a negative. You know, like really remember that so that wherever you're at, if you can gauge yourself, hi Corey, if you gauge yourself, recognize I'm having an off day. Well, look at all the good days. The off day is what gives you the contrast to recognize you are having a good day. And all it's doing is showing you where you are on the pendulum of life. It is not that you are right or wrong or good or bad. Again, there's your duality. It's that this is where you're at. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that, no matter what it is. That the theme of feeling it is really not to dismiss or, discuss it, but to feel and embody it. Like this is a lifelong and lesson for all of us that you can try to rationalize, you can talk. The mind is so clever. Say this, the mind is so clever. It will convince you that you have to know why you feel the way you do, what caused the way you feel you do, what's underlying. It'll go everywhere but the feeling because the mind is there to protect you. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't worry about the heart. The heart is the real guidance. If you can feel it, you know what is real. So you have to allow that to be alchemized. Real power, you want energy, it's in you. So when you can sit in your shit, good and bad, whatever you want to label it, because again, that's duality. When you're feeling, you're literally reeling, really. It is real, first off. But you're magnetizing to draw to you something. Whatever feeling, the state that your body is in, what you're harnessing alchemizes your life. The more willing we are to feel, the more our life becomes real. And because it reveals what it is that needs to be healed. It reveals what it is that has been lying dormant, what we don't express, what we suppress, we express. Our body will always exhibit what we most of the times kind of avoid in our minds. Like it's the cognitive dissonance in the body mind connection. The average person is doing, I don't see it, I don't believe it, like is literally like a little child ignoring all the symptoms and the signs that the body is demonstrating, and it is your guidance system. So when you are feeling something and you're not tuning into it, you are actually causing your dis-ease. You're literally dissing the wisdom of your body. This is the true temple. It is housing your soul. It is here to serve you. But yet we are the slaves to our own minds when we don't allow ourselves to be served by everything that's within us. So this real this recognizing, the harnessing that the harnessing is within us. It is constantly taking what appears to be crap and turning it into gold. The heavy weight of whatever it is that you're carrying, we're alchemized it into golden life. Whatever gold represents for you, because we are truly that powerful. And we're going to share, there have been many a time, you manifest something, you don't realize it doesn't have to always be a good manifestation. I know Julia mentioned this the other day, and I've said this over the past couple of years around how this period that we're in, people who've been doing the work, who've been healing for a long time, this period we're in is really about waking up to the gift of the power with, not just blindly unconscious allowing life to happen to us, thinking that way, that victimhood mentality, but recognizing that everything we think is what we end up creating. We create our reality. It is actually claiming that. So somebody who hasn't been doing the work is going to be like, whoa, that's really messed up. I was just thinking that. And it's something negative that manifests. And they're not aware, not conscious. They had that negative thought or that worst case scenario. How many of you out there have done that? It's not Murphy's Law. Stop the scapegoating. It's a personal responsibility. We have to be accountable. We have to be discerning. That's what meditation is about. It's about being conscious of the unconscious, bringing it to the forefront and recognizing our underlying programming, that every trigger is an opportunity. It's showing us where we're not liberated and free in our own existence, our own being. That trigger is what's unconsciously ruling and running your life, because we're either coming from a place of love, the fear of recreating or re-experiencing a bad event from our childhood. The trauma can often be the reason you do what you do, and that's the motivator. That is the unconscious driver of your life. And so the people who are waking up to, oh my gosh, I was just thinking that, oh, this, Murphy's Law, if you think it had happened, like all this craziness. But the reality is, if you're someone who's awake enough and you haven't worked, you're going to see both, and you're going to hone into, I need to be very, very, I need to be very, very conscious. The more we pay attention, we are paying for our, because the currency of your thoughts is what creates and manifests. This is not rocket science. It's just been withheld from us, not this. I had to figure it out. My entire life has been a whole unveiling of, and recognizing by and looking at my life. Like I said in the last video, chronic pain has been my health crisis, has been the biggest wake up. When something is happening in my body, oh, I can't ignore this anymore. My body's just going to keep the body score. People, I have a collection of these books. This is Vessel Dander book, The Body Keeps Score. You've got the Walk High Trauma, healing power of the vagus nerve. Like the work I do. This is a lifelong journey for all of us. I'm in this field. The work that I do because I know myself. And that's why I tried to come here and encourage. I'm here to inspire, to empower, to support and uplift you, to see it's all within you. It isn't happening to you. We are the victors. We are the creators. We are the manifestors. We're the true royal bloodline running around here. And yet we somehow have been convinced that we are meant to be slave to a few. We have more power within us. This divide and conquer thing, this is the oldest trick in the book. This is the oldest trick in the book, The Art of War by Sal. How do you say? Tongue-tied it. Lu Sao, Lao Tzu, The Art of War, Lao Tzu. So, because I literally have it out of me today, and I told James already trying to get my phone to work. I'm able to use the Wi-Fi, but I put the new SIM chip in last night, and it hasn't worked since. This is the second time I've gone through this. I had the same thing back in October. They send you a new chip because you got to upgrade and update and activate your service. Well, I got the card last day at about noon, but I didn't put it in till later last night. And I spent so many wasted hours with technology help desks. What is really sad is my background is IT, so I already know they're scripted. I already know they're reading the, have you done this, done that? And I start out saying, first off, read the case information. I hope in the notes that they explain that I have done everything. That the last person I spoke to last night said, well, it's only been 20 hours since they sent you the chip, so it has to take 24 to 48 hours. And I'm like, all I got was the card. I didn't get instructions that implied that there were any additional, obstacles on the path. With that said, technology, and again, what you consume consumes you. You need to be very clear and mindful and conscious, because even though I'm a little agitated, I'm not like physiologically attached. I'm just kind of like, I already know what I'm used to expecting. And unfortunately, manifest that because it's what had happened in the past. So it's time to alchemize. I said, James, that can wait. It'll get taken care of because this is more important.
It's a cheap shot, isn't it? With all this technology, it's like we'll give you the thing, but we'll make it as frustrating as possible because we know it'll get your attention to focus on it, and it brings up all the sort of frustration, the anger. This is what James True was talking about yesterday. With we want you to make an even smaller little card so we can put it even in a bigger thing. It's like, why is there not a universal socket for a phone charger? Why well, it's business. They can sell you a different thing. Oh, you've changed make a phone. You need a different charger. It's like, oh. But yeah, everybody can manifest. The only problem is that we've been sort of programmed to do the negative thing. So the very thing you don't want, you focus all the attention into worry. That's the very thing. So that's saying about being our own worst enemy. Well, who knows us better than ourselves? And it's the mind creating. And it's like, well, if I do this, and then getting frustrated with it, and it doesn't work. But there's a it's a very interesting thing I played on Monday. Um, you're going to come across people who are not going to budge. They're immovable. I'm talking about those that have built careers like ministers who are proud to have a PhD in whatever. So the last thing they're going to want is that feeling of, oh, have I been fooled all these years? But they've got all these accolades and awards and and all these decorations, so they won't want to give those up. So we do like the air hockey game with a puck, and you can take a direct shot at the opposition's goal, or you can bounce it off the side. So the double trick shot, it makes like an S curve, so it's like a serpent anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought. So my opening question after hearing this bibble babble was to say, well, do you know the difference between a Jew and a Hebrew and an Israelite? And that was like a curveball. And I then presented them with something so different from the way they think. But then I slipped in a few Bible verses and things and saying, well, it does tell you in Paul's letter to Corinthians, it's all allegorical. So then we get the curveball of, where are you from? It's like, oh, change the subject. It's like, well, I can go with, well, I'm right here. But I thought, no, let's have some fun with this. So I said, well, I don't know. I've got amnesia, but I can tell you about my last life and the date that I died and where I was. And it's like, well, and then this minister said to me, he said, I don't want to talk. He says, I think you're confused. I don't want to talk anymore. And I thought, what you're telling me is that you're confused because I've put a little seed of doubt. But what actually happens from that will strengthen up his resolve. So he will have even more of this view of seeing the world. It's not how he wants it to be. So he's putting out an energy of I want. So that is what he will get back coming towards him, more feeling of want. And with a double advantage that the more he sort of goes into that, where anybody in like professors, university professors, doctors, the more they go into that, the more they come across as being very pushy, which will actually have the opposite effect and reinforce their I want thing. So they get more want. So it's like working like the subconscious because they're not going to budge from their position. So well, I'll just help them on the way then. I'll get them to use their own power without interfering with their free will. So carry on. You keep preaching your version of Christianity to everybody and see how far you get. It's quite fun. So yeah, I had a problem the other week. It's like I'm down to sort of pocket change, and it's like the external is presenting me with this picture. So it's like, I know how to change this. I will just sit with the feeling of sigh of relief and just hold to that. Picture yourself, the archetype would be Cupid, which represents love. So now you become the bow and the arrow, but the arrow that is fired is the wish that's created in the mind. So now you've got to stay true to the bullseye with the arrow, no matter what the external presents. Just hold to that, and it will come. It might take a day, it might take a week, might take a year. It just depends how big of a manifestation you're trying to bring about. But it's a shame, really, because it's still too early. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be able to say, "Here's the proof." Beyond my sort of, should we say, expectations. Just reading the messages. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard to keep them up. I don't know why they don't stay on.
Yeah, it's yeah, divine timing. That's the thing. Time has this negative connotation where you're chasing it, you're trying to make it, you're worrying about running out of it. But if you come back in the present and just like, well, I put that fire out there into the field, and now I'm seeing things all click into place. You can't actually see a thing, but you see whatever this thing is working. You see it in action, and it's like people have got this bizarre idea that with ascension and moving into 5D, suddenly the whole world's going to change. They're going to be sort of beamed up and put somewhere else. That's not how it works. I like Tom Campbell's explanation. You've got basically a trinity. You've got the character in the game. So you've got the background scene, which is the external world, and it's on a timer. But then there's that awareness that you're not the character, you're the player, and you're talking to the computer. You've got interaction with the computer going on, and it's like, I'm the player of this character. Well, I'm just going to rewrite what this character is going to do. And it makes it fun. It's like the ultimate interactive computer game, and it's like, this is fabulous. I don't want to. I'm having too much fun now. Even when things have hit low points, which they do, it's like, well, yeah, we're in a realm of duality. So this is the negative contrast. So if I wait a bit, I'll see the positive one come through as well. Yeah, start of this year, I had this feeling that this spring was going to be big, but I hadn't even considered about new moons. Well, it's new moon in Aries on the same day as the spring equinox. So those that have started on their spiritual path, they're going to feel it in a very good way. It just depends where you are and the circumstances, but it's this year of disclosure. It's not about UFOs and aliens. It's revealed within. You just feel it and know it. It's that aha moment. These things that just come, and it's like, wow.
You all hear that noise over the house? The helicopter going over? It's all helicopter
No,
noise. Couldn't pick up on that. Hopefully it wasn't too loud.
Didn't hear it at all. But there again, I think it was an ambulance siren going on here. So, but this is the thing. The more people start stepping onto this path of spiritual growth, it opens up to so much more. So the external will try and present the opposite. Because I've had people say, what's this happening to me? It's like, well, because you took that conscious decision that you want to know more, you've opened up your frequencies, so now you're feeling more that you wouldn't have got before. But then it's a process, and then you sort of work your way through that. And it's basically like pruning the vine. It's like, well, they're all negative things, and it's like, no, I'll stay with a central growth heading further towards the light. It becomes a beautiful thing because it's just a theatre show. Most of these things, these stories, are just that. They're just trying to get your attention, get you to feel a certain way about whatever that news story is, and then as Yolanda on True Love channel shows, it is all scripted, and it's there's too many coincidences. But for most people, they're not going to see a lot of these things. But when I see the on the last one, the police chief who's talking, his name's Rob Robertson, and I thought there's a coded word if ever there was, or coded name if ever there was one, and even the reporters, their names have a meaning in the connected with mythology. So, but most people won't even, they won't look into anything. They want it all handed to them on a plate. This whole increasingly over the last few years, you can have it now. You can have it on credit. You can have it instantly. You can download it, and all this. So people have got into that. Well, I can have it now. I can order it online, so there's no waiting for it. So they're being further and further conditioned into this. It's got to happen right now. Yeah, and that's not how it works. Because if you want it to happen now, then you've got to put feeling into it to make it happen. Because we create it.
Yeah, and I 𝐔𝐒𝐬𝐬𝐲, by the way, in case
Yeah,
you changed the whole thing around. It's interesting because it's exactly what I mean, I catch myself. I'm no different than anybody else. Instant gratification, so want satisfaction here and now, want it now, done my way. All the marketing and advertising, it is all that we should things at our whim when we want them, and that's actually created an entitlement mentality in many of us. Some it's extremely deep in the grooves, and then with others it's like I'm aware of it. Like your awareness of something lessens its hold over you. It goes back to, again, what you consume consumes you. What you are unaware of, if you don't bring that to the conscious, then it becomes the unconscious driver. So again, it's a form of consumption. It's a form of control. We need to be mindful and aware of everything that we are doing. We're just that I do want it the way I want it right now. At least the groove isn't so deep in us in such a way that it rules over. Knowing it lessens the power it has over us in every aspect of our life. And again, it's back to the trigger stuff too. The trigger itself just shows you where you're not free in your life, because that is the unconscious program. That is one thing that is driving you to avoid something underlying, something unexpressed, something on popping up in your face to say, "Ooh, remember me? You put me on the back, shelf a long time ago, and I'm just waiting." But the more we avoid things, the more that actually keep showing up. I mean, that is and it's everything from, and most of the times it's the body demonstrating what you're avoiding in the mind. It's real easy for, again, the cognitive dissonance of the mind towards your own body and how we it and don't we grant it. Mhm. So I also wanted to share, we were preparing, I was mentioning how we have a lot of this Pluto basically comes in and clears house. The Pluto, and I'm not an astrologer. I look to astrology to pretty confirm what I know intuitively. If we really tap into our gnosis, then you see that astrology is really like a weather forecast, because that's reflective of us. It starts in us first, or that astrology wouldn't have existed. And this is where we need to be more attentive, because the mapping out in astrology, in the stars, the universe, really is, again, the reflection of us. Just like the earth is always demonstrating what is going on within us. So never look to anything as, oh, that's the ultimate truth. No, it's just a forecast. It's foretelling. It's not set in stone because we're the ones that influence it. We influence it. Yes, we're all like, to a certain degree, we came in with all the aspects we have because that's what we chose. Our soul chose that. Yeah, exactly. It's more empowering when you see astrology from the perspective of a reflection of yourself rather than a direct in what do you call it? Uh, Imposition. It's not happening to you. It's happening because of you. So let me go back to Pluto because so the ancients, they mapped astrology because they were paying attention to what was going on around them. They started going, oh well, this is what's happening in the world, and then here's the influence of people. Or Pluto seems to appear as the take things out of your life longer serve, right? And so as Pluto journeys through Aquarius is what we're talking about, it will amplify the themes. So Aquarius is the collective. It's us, all of us, which is interesting because the toxic side of Aquarius, and I've seen my relationships, is all about me, which is ironic because I'm a Leo. Everybody thinks Leo's all about us, but actually Leo is all about at the core of a Leo. From my experience, we're here to demonstrate what everyone should be emulating. Like, you put yourself up first, because if you don't put your oxygen mask on yourself, you're no good for anybody else. It's not selfish, it's selfless. To your first safety, security, to be able to do that for others. And so this selfishness is really been, if you think about it, time we're saying there's nothing new under the sun. But what's funny is you can tell with the polarity and the duality occurring, it's really blatant right now, that they take words and they bastardize, they flip them, they use words like woke to counter the awake. They literally turn things into crap, as we said in the last, right? And it's so obvious because they have no power. They're just trying to get you to go along with them. Like, it's like the popular person you want to hang out with versus, and not all popular people are necessarily people you want to hang out with. I don't have an example. It's like wanting to follow the crowd, but it's not the crowd you really want to follow. You got to follow your own inner guidance system. It's too easy to follow a crowd. You need to be the leader, follower. But that's another story. So the themes of Pluto transiting through Aquarius, and this starts on March 23rd, right after the new moon and the spring equinox. As Pluto transits through Aquarius, it will amplify the power of people, deeper relating, gathering, equality, and alliance, not equity. Get away from that stuff. It's about transformation of the collective consciousness, technologies, destructive or liberating. Because again, it's the duality. You can harness any good or the bad. It can be malevolent or benevolent. It's up to us to claim that and harness. It's centralization and rebellion. So these are just a couple themes. I mean, not a few themes, in the sense that this is happening right now. Or what?
That's better.
Okay.
We're back live. There's gremlins in the Wi-Fi or the internet or something by the looks of it, because I've been getting clipped bits of words. So the last probably 2-3 minutes, it's like, what was that? It's one of those things that it's like thought manifestation. Let's project and get this signal back to full strength again. So far.
There you go.
It's pretty. It's like what are the chances? Yesterday, I put the radio on just before I was going to make a video, and what I thought, oh, Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. What really stuck in my mind when the presenter said he went to Teplitz for a water cure and came back renewed. And I thought, well, 1811 is 9/11 being shown there. Beethoven, and then with me going over to Portugal very soon, it's like, well, it will be a better garden because this is one of the things I've been feeling spring and then feeling frustrated because I want to be growing actual plants and things, which I can't do here. So it's like, well, I can't change that, but I can change it. I can pass it over to the subconscious, which is the womb of creation, and just sit back and watch it all unfold. And it is. I was having a discussion yesterday about new, and I said, well, it's worth knowing the astrology because depending on what star sign or what birth sign you are, and what I have a week where you're slightly more, you've got a shorter temper. Like especially with technology. So it's like on that week, maybe that's not the idea, not the best week to start doing anything that's going to have stressful potential in it. And then maybe leave it for a week later. So it's worth knowing. But I see it as like hole punch cards, like those old mechanical. So where all the stars, the lights line up, are like the dots or the holes in the hole punch card. So it's like a collective instruction, as it were, and then it depends what tone, what key, because there's 88 constellations, 88 keys on the piano. Coincidence? I don't think so. It's a Lionsgate 88, and we're not separate. We're in that middle ground. We are like the atom, that little solid bit in the middle. So we're connected to everything above and all the lights in the sky and everything in the earth below. So we're just the conduit in the middle of it. So, yeah, the perception changes. So I find you're not beamed up into and then plonked somewhere else with some sort of sci-fi thing. How you feel inside changes, and that is reflected by the situations, the encounters, the people, and it's like, it all looks the same, but I feel different, and the interaction I'm having with it is different. So
there is no separation with all of it.
Yeah, just to answer, I think it was Misha's question. Claire and Stephen, they'll be joining a bit later because they've got a 5-month-old baby, and they've got to give a month's notice where they are. So it's not so easy for them to sort of. Stephen would love to. The thing is, Stephen knows that area. He's been there before, so he knows what the area is like. And he said, if it was up to me, I'd go tomorrow. So it'll come. It's all good.
We feel all the
we feel
influencers.
Influencers, yeah. Yeah, it's just being aware whether it's a good influence, because really this world is continuously offering you script. So it could be, here's a script, you want to get involved in that conversation or that confrontation. Here's a script to go to that shop. Here's an advert to entice you here. And it's the world is a stage. So to be a good actor, you've got to become the character. You've got to feel it, breathe it, become it. And I always look at the sort of dark side. So think of Hollywood, think of royalty. They move in certain circles. If you think about it, with our vibrations, we move in circles. well. We're not just connected directly with everybody that's on that lowest addiction and suicide options, that sort of real horrible fear state. But that's their lesson. I feel sorry for them, but unless they're prepared to take active steps, but most of them have got this barrier up and they can't see past the barrier that it builds. They sort of walled themselves. They put a wall all around themselves, and that's as far as they can see. And they've like, I'm shutting out. Well, basically, they're shutting out their shadow, which has now grown. It's like, I don't want to face that, but it's growing and growing. Now it's going to come back even bigger. And it's like, oh, that's the worst thing to do. I mean, it's taken me long enough to get to this stage and realize that, but it's like, wow, to think I did all that to myself. I put myself through all this crap. I didn't need to, but we don't know. There's no book as such. Well, there is, but
it's that what you were just saying. Like the avoidance factor creates more the build up, and you are creating that into the worst case even worse because you've avoided it. It's like just get out of the way. The sooner the better. It won't linger on, and it won't fester into something. Yeah,
definitely. Has it stuck again? I hope not.
just to go real quick because it's March 23rd to June 11th this year. Pluto in Aquarius transit. Then here it'll be January 20th, September 1st. That's a longer stretch. And then November 19th of 24 through March 8th, 43. Whoa. That's interesting. And then September 1st of 43, January 18th of 44. That's interesting. I just have to copy that from some. I found that. So really what it is, just like anything, it's removing what's no longer serving. It's dismantling the stuff that's extraneous. The stuff really like what I really want to point out is spiritual. It's not even the material is actually part of the spiritual. In the form of how we're manifesting right now, it's going to remove the things that you may be clinging to remind you that's not what you came here to do. It's really not your priority. You may think so. But testing and checking with truth indicator, your body with kinesiology and everything, it will tell you just got conditioned and programmed to think that's important.
Sorry, most of that cut out again.
Oh no.
I thought the tail end.
I cut out, but what I essentially is that this is the period of removing what no longer serves. The spiritual is more important than the material, but the material is a result of the spiritual. Whether you like it or not, they are inclusive and not exclusive. But the material that you've been clinging on to will be removed because of the fact that it must be a priority to your soul's. You didn't come here to do that. It's just that reminder. This is where we're going.
Yeah. I've pretty much stripped myself down to, I can go with one backpack almost and one bag. I may have to go refine that, and it's like, no, I'm going to have to be a little bit more ruthless. And it's like, when did I last look at that? No, I don't. Because it's like, when did I last look at that book? Am I holding on to it for sentimental reasons, or is it a reference book that I am going to use? And most of it is no. So I'm looking forward to this. I've got to kill I'm going to kill off James Brockhurst. I'm going to introduce Dr. Juan Forfar, 144. We'll have a new character. Well, we can say like, it's either 44 with the time or it's 144. It's just really bizarre. I think most people, you're not consciously looking for it. It's just you happen to see them everywhere. Yeah. Hi, Pamela. Yeah, Pamela was in listening to James True earlier as well. Yeah, we're like a little online soul family, which is fabulous. So I can't say, oh, the internet and everything is bad. There's plenty of positives to it, but it's our perception on it. I like to use the analogy of you've got four artists and you've got a bowl of fruits in the middle. So they're like the cardinal points. So the artist on one side may draw the grapes and the pineapple, but the one on the other side can't see those and they draw the apples and the bananas. Mm-hmm. But neither are wrong. It's looking at exactly the same fruit bowl. Just had a message. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so it's like the same object and it's exactly the same with this reality. It's like nothing's changed, but I've done a 180 and I'm now seeing it from the opposite polarity. So it's almost like I'm about to hit rock bottom. Yes. It's like embrace what seems to be the bad things, like you're crossing the finish line in a race. It's like, yes. Because yes, you've got to sort of override the external and what the 5 sense information that's coming in, because you can turn those senses inward and it's expressed in sayings like, I see what you're saying, I hear you, I've got a taste for that type of thing. Then you've got intuition and instinct. So you've actually got 7 senses on the inside to draw on as opposed to 5 on the external. And it's that biblical passage about the 5 virgins that wasted their oil. It's the ones in the outside world chasing and worrying and trying to accumulate and keep up with the neighbours, and then it doesn't. I forget who it was. Someone the other day. It's like it's very true. I think it was Tom Campbell. It doesn't stop with right. I wanted this particular type of car in this particular colour. Now I've got it. No, that's where the problems start. I've got to insure it. I've got to tax it. I've got to worry about where I'm going to keep it. I'm going to be worrying about someone who's going to try and steal it. So you become a slave to the thing that you wanted. And it's like, that's crazy. To me, it's like, as long as it's from A to B, I don't care what it is. As long as it goes in the right direction and gets me there, that's all that matters. Oh yeah.
Go whichever way on a path, change your destination. It's the thinking that overdoes it. It's the battle is in the mind. Just hit 401. So I like to, it's again, we overthink. I'm a proud subscriber of the overthinking club. And I say that because I know myself. I know my mind. It's curious. It's always seeking. It's always searching. It's overthinking how things should be done. It's the perfectionist. It's easy for me to say, but it's always a question I do. I think that's actually a theme for all of us. We were both watching James True earlier, and we were both laughing because here we are with the technology. He was having issues with technology. I was having my issues with technology. again, like I said in the background, it's like we're slaves to something until we recognize we're not. That it may trip us up, meant to distract us, but again, alchemizing of it. The, aha, I saw you try to do that to me. I saw you try to get me, in a tizzy. It again, it's I have a Libra ascendant, so I get it, Pamela. and and it's like we think and we don't realize the thinking is the problem. It's the again everything. It's why is this happening? How is this happening? And never stopping and go, it's happening. Just like I'm feeling. And taking ourselves out of the moment is the hijack that I always talk about. It's like you project yourself into the future because you can't be present in the moment. You're stuck in the past. And each time you do that, and I catch myself too, it's a constant. It's always bring yourself back to this because the power is right here, right now. You can't be there and here at the same time, wherever there is past or what have you, past or future. Because all that's doing is taking you out of your power. And so you literally fuel whatever that was, even if it's not on a fuel. Like tell stories. Telling the story of victimhood situation. I mean, gosh, I catch myself and I'm like, I didn't even repeat the story. The other day I was catching up with some friends and I was just having to recount the situation of how I lost social media, how I'm in a dispute with the vet clinic and how psychotic that person is that I connected dots with, and how that she was active and got my I mean, I may not have proof, but I'm pretty darn certain because of the behavior and the way that person demonstrated themselves that I'm over here playing this story again. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I feel like it's my energy and my power. And that's where we have to catch ourselves. What is a real priority? What is it we really want to bring into manifest? Again, spiritual becomes the material. We may not think it because we think it's all material. It doesn't matter. We can't take it with us. But we came here to have these experiences. So don't be so dismissive of. And that's where James and I talk. It's exciting when you start to realize how much power you have and how fun this game of life really is because we're here to play. We're not here to make it into this serious, like, oh my gosh, this really sucks. Oh, what was me? Like, there's a lot of people who want to buy into soul trap because they don't want to take personal responsibility and accountability. They're still in their traumas, they're still in their triggers. Or this God is a vengeful, hateful God. No, that's you imposing your beliefs because they were imposed upon you. And that has been the biggest disservice we could do to ourselves is to hand over our power to some unseen, unknown, like just the whole programming, like every condition, every belief we have was implanted in us. We didn't just come up with it. We came in with purity. We had connection to source. There's still something lingering in us that has gnosis, that knows thyself. All this other stuff is just layers that we need to peel away to get to that in essence. And so, and the soul trap thing is really big right now because people want to believe they don't have any skin in the game, which means they're acting like they're victims. They're literally handing over their power to something they have no tangibility, no connection to. And the thing is I played the victim. I in those spaces. You see what he did to me? Lana, don't let him steal your peace. What are you talking about? Like, I remember the anger, the angst. I remember being in those spaces. But we need to reclaim and recognize we chose to come here. Whether we were tricked or not is irrelevant. You think someone tricked you to come here? I don't. I don't think there's any trick.
No. Well, it's surprising. It's like the soul trap. Oh, the timing of that when it seems to be the latest craze. I take the middle one on, that there is and there isn't a soul trap. If we take responsibility for ourselves in this material world, why does it just stop there? So the problem with that whole soul trap idea is that if there's somebody who's feeling particularly fragile, they're going to say, "Oh, there's just no point to this," and they commit suicide.
Mhm.
But by doing that action is now going to create something. They've not finished playing the game. They've not died of natural causes, or as close to what I would call natural causes, because that's debatable with what we consume, but or what the choices we've got of what we consume, because it's made difficult to break out of it. But it's not impossible. But if you don't finish that level of the game, well, you've created your own soul trap. Now you've got to start again. And it's like, really want to go through the education system? Do you really want to go through a new family unit? And depending on what you've done in this life, will determine what scene you're put into next time round. It might not be as good as, as this one. It's always be careful what you wish for. So I
You know,
feel this whole soul timing of it is deliberately being put out, because this is all trickle fed through the internet. Where's it actually come from? What's the source of it? Who's putting it out there? Same as all these other things. It's like mud fun. It's like, yeah, it's the
well, it's
definition of internet
uh,
is
the idea of karma is also infiltrated. It's translation of karma is really not evolving when you learn something new. It's the same behaviors that continue to haunt you. Karma isn't, oh, it's some bad thing and it's going to be done to them. It is their behavior attracts the experience they have. You are not going to see people karma, happen because it happened. Like this karma. That's an indoctrination too. I'm actually just got this download about the soul thing though. Is suicide doesn't guarantee that you're gonna have to start alone. Suicide could mean that you got eliminated from the game because you took the easy way out, but it wasn't an easy way out because you wanted to come here. And then when you get out, you're like, oh shit, I fucked up. If I had just stuck out, I'd been okay. Or I for those people, so they may never come back. That might be part of the way the game works. And he thinks suicide is a bad thing, when in reality, it's just you are eliminated from being able to enter again, which is the purpose. Most of us know this is a choice. So it's all, again, nothing under the sun. It's a flipping of the what they take and make, into something else. Like awake versus woke. I really think that that's that whole little thing. Like this has to be a simulation. There's no doubt in my mind. There has to be an oversoul. Our souls can't inhabit this body fully, first off, right? Reset, Pamela, right? So there is another version of you who is controlling the character. I don't know how many of them there are. I also don't know. There has to be another layer of source God energy, because you get to experience that at different points in your life, breath work, plant, all these other things. Like, you get glimpses into it. There, the idea that at the end of your life you have a life review. In the Kundalini yoga tradition, we have rebirthings uh, where you get to experience what your birth was and recreate it in a healthy way, as well as we have we have practices where you experience your death too, and your life, so that you aren't stuck at the end when it is time to transition. And I've had an experience where I literally I got to feel, I got to experience everything that was done to another because of me, whether intentional or not. And I got to feel it as I understood it and be in it as the other person. Like, that to me is what the life is. is you literally go through a flushing of feeling every aspect that you didn't, that you were a part of. It wasn't just, one person and you, etc. It's actually, and it's not evil. It's, you didn't do things intentionally. You did them from the consciousness level that you're at. God loves it all. If we just really harness the reality of the good and the bad is all, this is all man-made. The duality is there to experience the life in contrast. Man created this, well, man, actually God, the original source of all this, knew what it was doing. It's just we need to be more mindful of what we're doing. Was it Ken Wilber the other night? Did you see the video he put out about the dark crystal?
Yes. Yeah, I watched that today.
That's a movie, and I've always loved that because of the tones of it.
It's years I've seen that. I can barely remember it. All I remember is these things like turtle sort of walking up, sort of upright with these shells. I think they had shells on the back, and you keep getting the scenes, and they're walking really, really slowly, and they all come to a circle at the end and go, "Oh, I think, is that it? Is that all you're going to do?" It's like one climax. I had to laugh at that. Yeah, I've described the life review a bit like going into a casino in Las Vegas, where you've got the sort of half circle of cards, and there's your life story, and now we're going to review it. You'll feel how the other person, whatever you said or done, you get to feel how they felt. But having an awareness or thinking in that way, it then makes you, oh, now I'm going to be really careful what I say and what I do, because I'm going to get to feel so. Yeah, it's an interesting, if nothing else, it's an interesting concept, and it's like, can I say it's 100% true? No, but am I prepared to take the risk and put myself through even more, being my own worst enemy? No, I'd rather not. I'd rather make the transition easy, and I quite like the idea of coming back again. I know it sounds crazy, but getting to this point, it's like, actually, this is actually really fun. It's like, can I go around again? It's unlimited rides in the fairground, so why not? You don't have to accumulate a goldfish, and it's like, what am I going to do with this? So I've got nowhere to put it, and candy floss, and you see people that it's like, why have you bought all that plastic rubbish?
Did I freeze or you freeze? Oh. My internet acting up. No. Can you all still hear me? Because I can't tell if it was me or James who froze. I saw the chat. Let me know. It was James who froze. What I wanted to clarify before he comes back is so true, Pamela. We are the ones who are judging ourselves at the end. The life review is us judging ourselves. And in that life review, it wasn't painful to feel what others felt. It wasn't cringy. It was like, it's like being in the void. It's in that space of just having, it's actually kind of cool, because if you think about it, and this is source, is to be able to experience everything all at once. It was that without the physiological response that you would have as a human. It was literally like this whole bliss and compassion and forgiveness all at once from all parties. all aspects, because the understanding in the end was they were just experiences. And that's why I say that this life is truly just about experience. We're not here to judge it. We're just here to experience. And that's what trips us humans up the most, is this righteousness, addicted to our belief systems. The idea that our beliefs are real and true. That's what trips us out, because we're overthinking. When we're overthinking, we're not experiencing. When we're up in here, here is where we need to be. It's literally dropping down from the head space to the heart space. And it sounds easy, but because we are so thoroughly into our grooves of conditioning, yeah, exactly. It's all pre-spoken. It's like, here's what we're going to do. Although recently I've kind of been a little bit mad because I noticed in some of the contracts, people have not fallen through. And that was something I dealt with this past year and still kind of struggled with somebody that I held dear, that I literally was like, I know we came here for a reason and you were supposed to do right by me and you've just left me hanging. So it hurts my heart on the human level to not have them follow through on what felt like a soul contract we were supposed to have. So hopefully James comes back. I think it's very possible. He got lost in the technology. But this is really a gift to have this life. And again, what we consume will consume us, but that's what hijacks us. The consumption of something from the past or the projection into the future is the hijacking, is taking us out of our purest essence of source, our power in the now. Yeah, he's a keeper. He's a good man. I call him my Merlin. He's good. Yeah. We want to feel, because feeling is real. And honestly, I can't even imagine not coming to the conclusion of that everything is purely perfect as it is. I mean, it may not seem like it when you look around the world and you're like, really? Really? But how many of you out there can see it for what it is and don't get consumed by it any longer? Because we've kind of hit that threshold, I believe, where people have gotten over the hump and they're like, come on now, can't you do better than this? And as James and I have discussed, the reason they can't do better is because this is their playbook. That's all they know. So they're playing out, if you think about it, they're playing out a dark agenda that is no different than a childhood trauma. It's a different form. We wouldn't see it that way. This is what's channeling in now. We don't have compassion. We don't show compassion for them, but there has to be at some point a level of compassion and understanding that they're just like traumatized children not getting their way because they've been conditioned and entitled to just for us to lie down and take it like it is, to fall upon the sword, because we have in the past. So they're pushing it, and they're not trying to hide anything. They're blatant. They can't hide anything anymore because really it's been revealed. It's just how many people have acknowledged and accepted it, that it's time for us to step up. That's probably the hardest part right now, is acknowledging it's our turn to step up because we've let them take care of us like good little slaves. And you know what? If you want, the definition of crazy is expecting and allowing the same thing to happen over and over again by doing nothing to change it. Or to change it, to want something different, but doing the same thing over and over again, or just allowing the same thing to keep ensuing And you know it's all lies. You know that it's all corruption. You know they're not going to be held accountable unless we become accountable. We're not going to see justice unless we balance our own scales. Accountability within will also reflect out of us. Integrity, personal responsibility. We have to stand up in those places, because if we don't demonstrate it, then we can't expect it. And because we've gotten so used to and allowed so much to come at us the way we have, we've literally been in the most toxic relationship with the narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic system, that in itself, because it is an addiction, is the hardest thing for most people to walk away from. The idea that it has to be dismantled, it literally has to burn down. I'm not talking figuratively. I mean, like, it's time to dissolve, because that's what Pluto's here to do. It's no longer serving. You can't fix broken, like really broken. This has been a theme for a very long time. It's just most people don't want to accept it. Hi, Cheryl Ann. There's going to be 2 timelines, but you know what? We won't notice it because we'll be in our own. It will be that blatant, because if you're already living with your eyes on the prize, let's say you keep your eyes forward as opposed to looking back, which is again a trick of the mind. The more we keep our eyes forward, we focus and we nurture our dreams. We nurture, we come together in unity as opposed to this divide and conquer, Art of War, Lao Tzu. Oldest trick in the book, and they're still using it, and people are still following for it. History teaches. And yes, a lot of the history we're finding out are lies, which is why it's time to, again, if you have got, I love books. Books are the only thing we got left. And even this whole Mandela effect doesn't mean it was a real Mandela effect. All you got to do is put enough circulation out there of something that contradicts what you remember. They can put enough like physical books of the Berenstein versus the Berenstein books, like just as an example. What you remember, it's all been there to trick us, to get confused. But there he is. Confusion means there's a breakthrough coming through, because when you break down, you're going to break through at some point. Oh no, I clicked the ad. Where'd he go? There he is. James. He's back.
Yeah, it was the data ran out, so it didn't automatic. Because I thought, what's gone wrong? I thought it was the signal, but then I had to go in and manually select to start the next goodie bag early, a day early. But nice trying to get me, and it's like not happening. Yeah, so it's a perfect. That's a perfect example. Thank you, Melly. It's a perfect example. It's like I split myself, or I expand myself. So there's an emotion in there that's now coming up. It's got a petition with like 10,000 signatures, like it's given it to because I'm the government of this body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I hear what you're saying, but go and sit down again. It's like, this is all under control. We'll sort it. It's that is the one time that you can say, trust me, but because you're saying it to yourself, you're saying it to your inner child, saying, look, trust me, I've got this. Everything's going to be fine. You should know by now from past experiences, everything's always worked out fine. There's never anything been really bad. But it's a familiar story I've found with everybody that's started on the spiritual path. I think it's if you wander off too far, then you get a mountain dropped on you and it jolts you back. It could be something what we would see as quite horrific. You could end up in a an awful accident and maybe be in a coma or something. This is a worst case. But then you come back and then it's like, oh, I've been, there's your great reset. It's always talked about out there, but what about the disclosures and the resets that go on inside? Because the whole universe goes on inside all of it. So what's happening now? What if we are cells in a body, and just like a human body, it sheds dead cells, and it seems in the last 3 years to be a lot of coerced dead cells, shall we say? I don't want to sound judgmental on it, but because people have gone along with what they've told or what they've believed in, but ask anybody who they are and see what they come out with. They say, my name is this and I do this, and it's like, you haven't told me anything about yourself at all. The answer is you're God having an experience as a human being, and because you're infinite, you can play infinite characters. It's like I'm one strand, but I'm connected. I'm just the pushed out version at the end of this one of these hairs, but connected to something far greater. But our five senses will convince us that we are this body. And then to me, that's never sat right. It's like, oh, you live for so many years and you die, and that's it. It's like, well, what's the point of it then? That might as well be a soul trap then. Like, that's a silly experience. But there's definitely more to it, because there's so many things that I personally experienced that you can't explain. There's no rational explanation for it. From the tiniest little coincidence to the real big things of past life memories, in meditations and things, going to these non-physical realms. It's like, where did that come from? It's not here, but it is here. It's just in the ether. It seems to be this totally neutral, like a blank canvas, but you're the artist. You start putting paints on the pixel and create a picture on the background. So it's fun. But we get these little things like technology glitches to get in the way, and my fault, well, partly my fault, because I didn't realize I was so close to the run out of data, but it's resolved itself, so one day doesn't matter. In fact, in some ways it's like I didn't really need to get the package that I did get, because it's going to be useless after another week or two, but it's there and I just use it.
Don't you get free roam the services across Europe though? So that should support you when you're down there.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think the easy answer is get to Portugal or get a Portuguese SIM card, and hopefully it'll have instructions in English, and I'll be able to. But there'll be a way. I'm not going to create problems to solve. It's like we just go with it, and then it'll resolve itself one way or another. So, because it's another little, I'm being offered a script of, what if your phone doesn't work out? I'm not taking that script. It ain't happening. It's like, reject that one. It's like, you think I'm going to appear in a reality show drama? No. We're in a reality show.
Real quick to bring it back to the dark crystal, because what stood out, and I appreciated if anybody gets a chance to watch Ken Wheeler's video from yesterday, because it's everything that I personally have always seen in that movie. And they had a series a year or two ago during all this crazy that went in more. It was really well done. First off, with Valley needs your PayPal, Jim.
Oh, okay. I'll sort that out. It should be on the about section on the YouTube channel. Actually, thinking about it, it is on there.
So, my part of that, and it's exactly what we're going through. Very reminiscent of everything that's going on. Is where, what was it? The Skeletor's, starts with an SK. basically
Yeah.
the dark and the light one. And I was like, I've known that since I was a little girl, that it's the duality, polarity, and that's where we're at. So when I was saying while you were fixing your phone, that what we're here to do is to step up because they're stepping down. They're doing it with resistance. They're not wanting to step down, but we are coming back up, and so therefore, um, the Ken Wheeler one, the video that he put on there regarding the dark crystal, and I have someone at my door. Give me a second.
Okay.
So anyway, with the dark crystal, it's like we are the ones coming up to the light, and they are the one. I'll step away while you do your.
Okay. I was doing radio earlier, and
But if you
Victor
want
was
some of the stuff, go ahead. Yeah.
Bluebeard.
No problem. You're good. Yeah. Okay. That works out because that's for my. I had actually wanted a message, but I can't because my phone's not working. I think that's comical. But he's here to bring some supplies. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. Other thing that's somewhat concerning. So, yeah. So that's a great movie if you haven't seen The Dark Crystal. And I think he said it came out in 1982. I was like 9 or no 8. Wait, 24. 8 or 9. That's crazy. But it was such, and just like anything, I find that, and I did not know it was based on the Jane Roberts Seth's books. I had no idea that until he mentioned that, because I read those types of books when I was younger. My mom, stuff like that, metaphysical and it's just like really just tells you everything you need to know in that movie. All of those creatures were enslaved to those dark masters, and all they needed was that crystal, even though that crystal is each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up. But anyway, it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. The newer version series is also really good to watch as well.
It cut out again. Sorry. I listened to the radio earlier, and I got Bella Bartok, Deep Bluebeard's Castle, and I thought, this sounds interesting. And I'd completely forgotten all about this. In this, it's a one-act opera. And there's only, I think, 2 characters. The narrator at the start, Deep Bluebeard, and wife number 7. And I thought, wife number 7. I thought, the rooms with the other 6, that's the chakras. It's an esoteric that. And I thought, the timing of it, I meant to hear that. I thought that's worthy of a decode at some point in the future. It's very sort of specialist, but because a lot of people don't like opera and things, which I can understand. But I thought just the story with the 7 wives and opening the 7 doors in the castle. I thought, yeah, that's talking about the human body. Because if the divine feminine principle is the creation side, well, you got to activate the 7 chakras. So that's opening the doors in that story. And it's like, wow, even that is saying the same thing. It's incredible the way it's just, well, it's heal it, reveal it. So must be healing more of myself for all this to then be revealed. This is the year of disclosure after all. And it's certainly coming through in the most unlikely way. It's not UFOs appearing in the sky, that's for sure. But yeah, it's beautiful. the kingdom, yeah. Yeah, the Sarah Abraham, the cerebrum. The
Mm-hmm. So, real quick, it was the 𝐔𝒂𝒄𝒄,
ah,
and 𝐒𝐚 was the woman, and I really appreciate that he said she appears beautiful because of she has something, the qualities of like she exhibits the fear. I really loved, I loved, I loved 𝐒𝐚 as well. Even though she was ugly, she was beautiful in her appearance and such. Yeah, it was Land Striders. I forgot about that part. Those were those. Okay, so the angelic weren't the 𝐔𝒂𝒄𝒄, they were 𝐒�𝒄𝒄. But when they combined, they it was all one, and that's where we're at in the world. Oh my gosh.
I'm just trying to think. There's several decades since I've seen the film. This is the problem. So I've got such a vague memory of it now. It didn't make sense at the time, apart from being a film. And I thought this is a bit, but yeah, I'd like to see that again, and because I know it would reveal so much more than well, I didn't see anything in it when I did watch it, but yeah, I've just completely forgotten about the film. It's only because of seeing Ken Wheeler and the Dark Crystal. I thought, oh, I wonder if that's a film. So I thought, yeah, I thought that's an excellent breakdown of it. I'd forgotten about all the characters. I've got such a vague memory of it now, and it's blurred with other film things. There's things like Labyrinth as well. It's another film, same sort of era, and that's a very much a sort of hazy memory of that one. So yeah, I'll have to build up a list of films to watch again and see them in a new way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll all do that with things. A good example of this is song, you or even a book. Something will draw you towards it or to hear it, and might be just one line in the song, and it's like, oh, and it's like, I hear that, and it's like, oh, I've never heard that. I've never heard it and thought about that before from those lyrics. So we're being given clues all the time. It must be the oversoul, higher self, that's the benefactor side that is actually guiding us. But there again, if it's the world is a stage, the villain is equally of value. And I actually, with this whole control system, seeing their messages that they put out and then sort of untwisting the twist that they've put on the message, that reveals a great. It's still great guidance. It's just you're looking at a slightly more distorted version, but it's still possible to see it. Even with the Bible, it's been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, but the essence of the stories, the spiritual message in it, still shines through. It's like they've rewritten it, but they're not that clever. It still can be found in it. It's just you have to sweep aside every belief system. That's another thing with this, that the ego fear thing. When you first, especially on the conspiracy side, you have this sort of feeling of inferiority. Everybody knows more than me, and I need to know all this information. I've got to absorb it, and well, that's a trap in itself. But it's the definition of insanity. It gets to a point you do something and expecting to see a different result, or anything you look at externally, anything that would be classed as a conspiracy theory. The only answer you'll ever get out of it is you've been lied to. So the next thing that comes along, it's like, let me guess. I think I know what the answer's going to be to this. So if the answer's not out there, it has to be inside. And then that's saying about you already know all the answers. The conscious mind thinks, well, that doesn't make sense. I don't know anything. But it comes. It's just an inner knowing that follow that gut feeling, I'd say, is the answer. I forget, it might have been Mish posted it up saying the gut, listen to the gut. That is the best guide. No matter what the rest of the world says, if the gut is saying something don't feel right with this, it's communication and feeling. And same with the body, it's learning the language of the body, that it's all in feeling, not in words um, or writing. It is all purely in feeling. That is the universal language.
The Tatian. The gut is also part of the enteric nervous system, which is the feeling sensory of your body, part of your nerve.
Yeah.
And it's not spoken much. I mean, they've only just started talking about the gut instinct, that the gut brain, but the enteric nervous system, along with that, it's just like the vagus nerve is the wandering nerve, and it's not like you can map it out. Because again, as above, so below, everything seems so infinite outside of us, but it's infinite within us. So they may search all their mechanisms, and then one time they say, "Oh, we found a new thing." No, you're just able to see it now. It's always been there. You don't have to have proof of something that you inner gnosis.
Yeah. It reveals itself anyway in the physical from the feeling. You get the follow up with the objectification of it. I mean, a perfect example of this was I spent 13 years on looking at family history, and it was beyond family. It was transcribing entire parish registers, and it really expanding out. I knew at the time it was going to be a stepping stone to something bigger than that, but I didn't know what it was. And it's only quite recently it's sort of that was the training for now. It's incredible. But the typo is not cooperative. Oh, it's faded out.
It'll get.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah. So the family history always started with a hunch, intuition, some sort of supernatural force guiding me to look at certain things, and then backing up with the paper trail that came afterwards. And it's the same. Something I listened to the other day. Again, it might have been Tom Campbell. Spirit creates matter, or the mind creates the physical, not the physical creates the mind. Although, if we're purely in the external, I suppose it does, but creates fears and things in minds. Because definite, if we absorb and consume what the outer world is presenting to us, that it being able to sort of, I'm not the character, I'm the player of the character. That changes everything. Just the feeling that you're this eternal, like a flame inside that doesn't have a physical form. Because doesn't matter how brilliant they are, no surgeon can open up your chest and say, "There's the soul," or "There's the spirit. Look, here it is." It's not something that could.
Especially since it's so infinite and expansive, it can inhabit just this physical body, because we have 10 bodies. We have etherical body, the aura, the magnetic field. We have the that's what we do for the Kundalini tradition. Recognizes there are.
Oh, it's faded again.
So they were trying to get PayPal sorted away, and then they said something like, "Did you say something about sending it to Julia?" No, he said it was on his on his YouTube.
That's the answer. Send it to Julia. That's far the most simple way, because everything will be going into that anyway.
Gotcha.
That's where I can now act and play the part of being in service of others, with the community there and the wider community, and I can actually be doing. And because this is what I want to get to, where I can make videos and say, look, here's the proof. If you want proof, here's the results. And say, look, I've managed to do it. Julia's managed to do it. And then it'll just grow from that.
100%.
So, yeah, and it'll hopefully then inspire. And it's like, well, yeah, he's done it from nothing. So Julia's done it from nothing. So it's a neutral field on which to play. Just be very careful what part you pick, and then stick with it and play it, become it. And you don't have to put a label to it. I mean, it's heavily one-sided anyway. There's always more male mythological because of the way history's been done. So, but people see you what they want to see you as anyway. So, fades out so quick.
The only reason I don't try to read all the comments is because it goes quick before I end up reading it all, or you'll be speaking and you got to finish what you're saying, finish the thought. We apologize for all of your comments today, and you know, we love you, definitely love you. If you happen to be in the Clearwater area,
oh no, dear. Oh no.
same.
Hope that's not. Oh, I had someone try and call me and it's knocked the volume out. I'm going to have to come out and come back in again. Oh dear. These things happen.
I think everybody's.
Oh, come on.
So when he freezes, I think you all see it before I didn't see him freeze right away, but yeah, it's funky technology glitchy day. Like I was watching James True and he was talking about having issues with all his printers. I haven't been able to get my phone to activate on the new service because I got a new SIM chip in the mail yesterday, and it's okay. It'll get resolved, but me and my funny how I try to promote my program and it doesn't seem to want anybody to know about it. Isn't that ironic? This is a rebirthing. It's a Kundalini tradition rebirthing. What I was talking about, how we can write the story of our, there he is. We can write the story of our lives and our birth, experience it in a healthy way if we had trauma. So I was sharing. They said I froze when I was trying to show my rebirthing, but essentially this is a event because it's very challenging to try to line. I don't know. Song makes some weird, you know, I have to have the right speaker system, not speaker, the right microphone, and if it doesn't pick it up right, it could ruin your experience. So I'm not yet ready to try to play that as an online thing. Birth things usually are more powerful in person. I really like the idea of online. Oh, yeah. I actually have to get going because I'm a little concerned. I want to check on these guys.
It keeps cutting out. It's like the whole world. It's like conspiring. But then well, that's the negative thing that's all been thrown in. It's like, well, that is just a case of, well, we've had the negative polarity, so something good's going to come out of it every time.
Always. And all.
So it's like I'm not getting stressed by anything. Even the phone cutting out is like, no. One time it would have been a major brought the dark uglies out. I think it's Cheryl says that, calls them the dark uglies. But yeah, it's getting them under control and everything works.
Yeah.
Just want to read the comment. Yeah, thank you. Cool, 7 people. Wow. 4, 5, 7. Yeah. Excellent. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the that essentially we're here to bypass all the junk, get rid of the extraneous, that what consumes you will consume you if you're not conscious and aware. It really is. Yeah. Thank you, James, for joining. We'll do this again.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, love to chat room.
Bye.